Let's start this Periscope. Good evening, Periscope. How are we? How is everybody? Great to see everybody. Tonight is book club. Welcome. Fanny's in straight away again. Vishal's here. Can see people joining straight away. As usual, guys, we're going to give people a couple of minutes to join. Zerdy1 is here. Let us know where you're viewing from. That's definitely a new name. So how is everybody? Tonight's book club, guys. For those who don't know me, my name's Ross. I scope twice a week, once on a Monday, once on a Wednesday. Monday we do something called Motivation and Mind Hacks, and on a Wednesday we do book club, which is tonight. I had a bit of a fight in my mind of what I was going to do the book club on this for this month. Normally, Austin's here. Normally, I do one book per month. So we do one for 4 weeks every Wednesday, and we read a chapter, a different chapter, every week for 4 weeks. I did a scope a couple of weeks back about a book that wasn't to do with the book club that I've since bought, and I'm like, I really want to do that, and that's this book, which is called Dear Me. It's a letter to my 16-year-old self. It's a compilation of letters incredibly famous people, successful people have written to their 16-year-old selves. Gemma's here. Good evening, Gemma. It includes names, all sorts of people, from J.K. Rowling to Gillian Anderson, Hugh Jackman, Alan Rickman, massive actors, not all actors, some of the famous businessmen, singers, Danny Minogue's knocking around in there, and Ricky Lake. Give me some hearts if you remember Ricky Lake. Chat show host Ricky Lake. I used to watch that. The hearts are coming through. I used to watch Ricky Lake, I'm sure, every dinner time. I don't know what's happened to her. Ricky, if you're out there, let us know. So I want to do this book, evening Gemma. I want to do this book for 2 weeks. Go, that's it, Fanny's going, go Ricky, go Ricky. That's what they all used to do. So we're going to do this for 2 weeks, guys, and then for the other 2 weeks of the month, I'm going to do Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy. It's an awesome book I've only just started reading. It's the fight to master our greatest opponent, which is our egos. Not our Freudian egos, for those who are into psychology and know about Freud. He looks at it a little bit differently. Tony Ross is here all the way from the States. My man Tony, good to see you, buddy. You've not missed anything yet. Thanks for being here. I've been watching your press up burpee videos on Facebook. Keep it up, dude. Keep it up. It's getting the guns. So yeah, tonight's book's this, guys. I've chosen, Mary's here as well, I've chosen 5 letters to read tonight, because I told you this a couple of weeks ago, but my plan for this is we're going to do 5 tonight, 5 next week, and then after that I'm going to set up a page on the website that I run. For those who don't know me yet, I run a website for actors called Acts on This, the TV Actors Network, and I'm going to set up a page. Tony says thanks for watching his burpee video, no problem. I'm going to set up a page on the website where there will be a form, and I want people to write their own letter to their 16-year-old self, regardless of how old you are. Even if you're like 20, 18, doesn't matter, 17, write a letter. Christos is here. Good evening, Christos. Write a letter to your 16-year-old self on the site, and then once you've submitted those, I'm going to collate them all and publish them in a free ebook for actors, so that anyone new to the industry, or regardless of how long you've been in the acting industry, people can read these letters that people have written to their 16-year-old selves, from ordinary people like me, you, everyone watching this, with all of our advice that if we could go back, we would give our 16-year-old selves. I'm 34 now. I'm not 34 actually, I'm 33. I'm 34 in September, so nearly 34. But I've got a lot of advice that I would go back and give myself if I had the opportunity. Hipster's here. Good to see you. So yeah, who's up for that? Who would be up for writing a letter to their 16-year-old self that I would then be able to publish publicly? So you can put whatever you want in it. It doesn't have to be all acting career related. Lucinda's here. Good evening. It could be anything at all to do with life advice, basically. Christos says yes. How long? It doesn't really matter, Christos. As you're going to see tonight, when I'm going to read you the letters of Hugh Jackman, Gillian Anderson, Toby Jones. Who else have I chosen? I've chosen a couple of others that I'm going to read to you in a second. You'll see some are longer than others. Some are very short, actually, in this book. Some are a couple of sentences. Others are a few hundred words. I would say no more than like 500 words, but it can be as little as you want. It might be one sentence. Doesn't matter. Some of the ones in here are literally like one sentence. So it's up to you, your style, whatever you want. So the ones I've chosen tonight, have you done your own, Ross? I've not, Fanny, but I will do. Mine will definitely be in there. I think it's something everyone should do, just a bit of a cathartic process, isn't it? To actually look at where you were and where you are now. And it's going to make you appreciate how far you've come, I think. With the advice you've now got, you've only got because of the experiences you've had, good and bad. All is equally valuable. So tonight we're looking at Hugh Jackman's letter. You obviously, I don't need to give Hugh Jackman an introduction. Everybody knows who Hugh Jackman is. We're also looking at Gillian Anderson's letter. We're going to be looking at James Avery's letter. Now you might not know who James Avery is, but you'll know who he is when I tell you. You might not know his name. He played Philip Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Big Phil. Give me some hearts if you used to watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's a legend. Absolute legend. They're coming through thick and fast. All the hearts are coming through for Big Phil. His real name's James Avery. Great guy. Well, I don't know if he's a great guy. Great actor. Toby Jones, you'll know for a few things, but I know him as the voice of Dobby in Harry Potter. Part that I would have liked to have voiced. Didn't get it. Didn't get it. Like I got asked to audition for it. Didn't get asked to audition for it. And Stan Lee as well. Does anyone know who Stan Lee is? He's not an actor, but his work has become incredibly popular in the world for actors and people watching these actors. Let me know. Marvel, yeah, we want to say Marvel, yeah. So yeah, Stan Lee was a former president and chairman of Marvel Comics. So he's responsible for the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Iron Man. Thanks for sharing the scope, Tony. X-Men, and many other, comic strip icons. So we're going to read the letters that they've written. And they're interesting. As I say, some you might relate to, others you don't, but all of them are quite interesting. So we're going to start with Hugh's. I've read this before, actually, so some of you might be familiar, it might ring a bell. But this is Hugh Jackman's letter to his 16-year-old self. And he says, "Dear Hugh, just thought I'd pop you a little note to see how you are, even though I know how you are, and to tell you that yes, there will come a time when you get over Penny dumping you at the bus stop. In fact, you'll see her in a couple of years and wonder why you cried every time you heard the Lionel Richie song, Penny Lover." Love Lionel Richie. I'd like to read a 16-year-old letter off him. It says, "Oh, and the patch of zits you get on your forehead will also go, but probably not as quickly as you hope. And yes, you will get to move into the big room in the house as soon as your brother Ralph leaves. Right now the important stuff's out the way. I'll tell you a few things that may help you on your way. I don't want to spoil any surprises for you, so some of this may sound a little vague. Things are going to be different from how you imagine them. I know you don't have a clear idea of what you're going to do with your life, and I know that drives you a little bit crazy, particularly as you get asked about it every other day of your life. Maybe you get that asked all the time, particularly if you're an actor. But when you're asked, just smile and say, "No idea, but when I do know, I'll get back to you." Truth be told, much of what's going to happen will surprise the pants off you. It'll be way better than your wildest imaginings. Love life, spoiler alert, you'll meet an incredible woman and the choice to marry her will be the easiest choice of your life. Just listen to your gut. Keep writing down one list, and one list only. The 5 things you love to do and the 5 things you are good at. They'll keep changing, but one day they will match up, and there is your path. But even then, keep writing your list just to make sure you're still on the right track. Your nature is to be hard on yourself. Who's hard on themselves? I think we all are sometimes. To push yourself. Be careful of this. It can veer you off track faster than anything. There's so much more to say that'd make you feel great to hear, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. You have had many blessings in life and will have many more. Never forget where those blessings come from. Oh, and in about 10 years, there'll be a hit song that you love called Wear Sunscreen. Who knows the song? Give me some hearts if you know the song Wear Sunscreen. and a hell of a lot of it is true, particularly the bit about wearing sunscreen. Hint, hint. I love you, from you, Hugh. P.S. This is brilliant. P.S. Buy shares in Google when they are invented. That's something I would have loved to have done. Buy shares in bloody Google. Christoph says he loves the song. Yeah, Wear Sunscreen's a top song, isn't it? If you've not heard it, I'm sure everyone must have heard it, but Google it and YouTube it. Get on YouTube and search for Wear Sunscreen. It's an absolutely awesome song. So that's Hugh's letter to himself. I think there's some important, cry every time I hear it, says Fanny. There's some important lessons in there. One is the list thing that Hugh does. He says, write down the things that you're good at, and the things you love to do, and the things that you're good at. He says, and they won't always match up, but where they do, that's where you will find your path. And I think a lot of people, particularly in business actually, I don't know in acting, but particularly in business, you know, people come to me and go, you know, I'd like to set up a business, but I have no idea where to start. Because I'm quite big on actors setting up their own businesses to support themselves when they're not acting, because it saves them having to do the job that I had to do for 10 years working in a shop that I fucking hated, not being appreciated by my boss or by the general public. So I'm like, you know, I'm big on people setting up their own online businesses, particularly where they can create passive income. And a lot of people say, but I don't know what to do. I haven't got a clue. And I think that's a great advice. Write down the things that you love to do and the things that you are good at. Because when you are good at something you love to do, you are enthused in teaching other people how to do it. And trust me, no matter what you think, this is so important, no matter what you think about your talents or your skills or whatever, I promise you, you have knowledge in here that other people on this planet will pay good money to learn from you, regardless of how little you value that knowledge yourself, because it comes easy to you. You only ever need to be one step ahead of the people you're teaching to be the expert in that thing. If I came to piano or something and I couldn't play, I mean, I can't, I'd love to be able to play the piano, but you know, you don't need to be a grade 8 pianist for me to pay you to teach me piano. As long as you can play anything, I'll give you 25 quid to teach me how to play something, so I've at least got a basic understanding of how the piano works. So don't belittle the knowledge that you've got in your head. You know, you can absolutely create a business and sell your knowledge, because it's valuable. You've taken years to accrue that knowledge. So yeah, I'm quite big on that. You know, getting actors to create businesses. So think about what you are good at and the things that you enjoy doing, and where those two things meet is where the magic happens. So good advice off Hugh there. That was his lesson. And also he says, yeah, you know, being harsh on yourself is the quickest way to veer off track. And I think as actors, I was on the phone to an actress today who had a 3rd recall for an audition. Great new series. She'd be one of the leads in it. And she had to meet the producers yesterday. So she went through the 1st round, the 2nd round, and then when you get to meet the producers, the director and the team, effectively what happens in those situations is you're pretty much down to either last 1 or 2, I'd say 3 max, and they're looking for like maybe channel approval. So sometimes you go through something called channel approval, where the channel has to approve you, not just the casting directors, the director and the exec producer, but the channel, whether that's channel 4 in the UK or BBC, or in the States it could be ABC. You know, they have to go, okay, this person fits our channel, you know, and we want to work with them. And she's down to that stage. She rang me yesterday to go, yeah, had a great audition, think it all went really well. Today phoned me up going, I've not heard anything, I'm having a bit of a meltdown, I'm autopsying the whole thing. What if I did this wrong? What if I dressed wrong? Oh my god, I don't know if I had the right makeup or I did my hair right. All this kind of stuff, and she's just veering herself off this track of positivity she was on yesterday. And I'm like, you've got to remember your gut when you come out of these things. If you feel good, generally you've done a good job. Don't then start autopsying it and convincing yourself you did a shit job. Your gut is always right, and Hugh says there, when he's talking about marrying his wife, he trusted his gut. It was the easiest decision he ever made. So thank you, Hugh Jackman. That was his letter. Next, guys, do you like it for a start? Let me know what you think of his letter. Does it say how old these people are at the time of writing the letter? No, it doesn't, Fanny, but the book was published it wasn't that long ago. I'm sure it was like 5 years ago or something, maybe 3 years ago. When does it say? I don't think it's got a publishing date. I thought it did have. I only saw articles being written about this over the last 2 or 3 years, so I'm sure it's relatively recent. 2011. So it's wow, it's still 5 years old, isn't it? But J.K. Rowling's done the foreword for it. There's J.K. writing her foreword. What was the list thing again? Sorry. So Christoph said the list thing was, if you're looking, you know, for something like a business you can set up or anything in life, a path to follow. If you write down a list of 5 things to start with, 5 things that you really enjoy doing, and then write down a list of 5 things that you are really good at. And if the same thing appears on both lists, that's something of value that you can teach other people. Would the letter change if they were to write it 15 years down the line again? I'm sure it would, Fanny. I'm absolutely sure it would. Ross, extend the deadline for your service. Deadline? What deadline? Let me know what you're talking about, Patrick, and I'll understand. I'll be able to tell you. But yeah, so yes, thanks, Christos. So yeah, hopefully you get that. So yeah, where your passion meets your talent, you're laughing. You know, that's what you should focus on. Oh, for the membership. So for Act On This, so yeah, the premium membership so I run a website, guys, actonthis.tv, where I host videos, I do interviews with famous actors, casting directors, producers, writers, all, you know, kind of the great minds in the industry that I can get access to give you guys access to them. There's a free account. 90% of the stuff is free. All the stuff I do is completely free, all the articles are, but there's some of those features that are premium, and the premium membership at the moment is only £5 a month. It's £4.95 a month, which has been for 5 years. When I set that price 5 years ago, Patrick says it's very good, thank you. When I set that price 5 years ago, obviously there was nothing on the website. Today there's nearly 300 hours worth of content. The community's grown massively. There's 2,500 actors on there. It effectively costs a ton more than it used to cost, a load more than it used to cost to run it logistically. And I haven't increased the price for 5 years, so I've got to increase the price in order to continue doing what I do and to deliver the most value to you guys. So on the 14th of August, which is Sunday, the price of membership is going up. You can lock in the current price for life as long as you keep your subscription active if you sign up before Sunday. Go to actonthis.tv/sign up and you get a yearly membership for just 49 quid, or you can pay £5 a month, which works out at like 60 quid. Patrick's saying extend it, but Patrick, I can't really, because I've kind of set, there's no point having a deadline if I extend it. If you are struggling or anything like that, let me know, and on a individual basis I might be able to sort something out, but the general deadline has to be on the Sunday, just because of all the people who have signed up now, as in like over the last 7 days. Because of the deadline, I'd feel like I was cheating them if I went, surprise, the deadline wasn't there. Just for there to honour them and to thank them for signing up, I've got to keep the deadline there. But if, you know, on an individual basis, if people are struggling, and you support the community and stuff, I can maybe sort something out for you. So drop me an email and we'll sort it out. Hipster says he's signing up tomorrow. No problem, Hipster. Well, you've got a few days left. Yeah, I'll be sending an email out to everyone about it anyway. So the next letter I chose was Gillian Anderson's letter, guys. This is Gillian's letter to her 16-year-old self. Very famous for the X-Files. Recently been doing a lot of stuff. Do you know what? I only realised Gillian was English recently. Give me some hearts if you always thought Gillian Anderson was American. I always thought she was. Gemma says, definitely worth it, guys. Cheers, Gemma. That's for the Act On This membership. It is, guys. Seriously, like for the price of, even when the price goes up, it's only going to be 30 quid a quarter. I spend more than that in a month on coffee at Starbucks, and this stuff is game-changing knowledge from the greatest minds in the industry that can really, seriously help your career. People pay 45 quid to go to a workshop with a casting director. There's 300 hours worth of that shit on actonthis.tv for 10 quid a month. It's unbeatable value, plus everything else you get. So Gillian's letter. Dear Gillian, she says, you are completely and utterly self-obsessed. If you spent a quarter of your time thinking about others instead of how much you hate your thighs, investing in our careers helps us take it more seriously too. Cheers, Tony. If you spent, she says, if you spent half as much time thinking about others instead of how much you hate your thighs, your level of contentment and self-worth would expand exponentially. Who relates to that? We get so caught up in ourselves, don't we? One thing I learned way too late in the game for my own good was that you can effectively increase your self-esteem by doing esteemable things. Therefore, I have signed you up to build homes for the homeless during your entire summer vacation. Your Christmas will be spent serving food at a battered woman's shelter. And Easter is designated to reading stories to children in the paediatric cancer ward. 4 months out of 16 years dedicated to human beings other than yourself. You've gotten off easy, Gillian. Oh, and honey, expand your horizons. Your world is bigger. It's a bigger oyster than your low self-esteem wants you to believe. Love yourself. Think of others and be grateful. I love you, I believe in you, and I look forward to respecting you. Me, you, us. P.S. Follow your dreams, not your boyfriends. So Gillian obviously spent a bit of time following boys around. That sounds familiar to a few people I know. Sounds like your mother, says Fanny. Sounds like your mother. Yeah, I know what you mean, Fanny. Not my mum. but yeah, definitely. I think there's one line in there. There's like says it all. Well, 2 lines actually, and one is that your self-esteem. You can really raise your own self-esteem by doing esteemable things. When you seriously, guys, when you live a life of service, offering value to other people, everything comes back around to you. Your life changes. 10 years ago, my life was so transactional. I'd only do something for someone if I was getting something back. I looked at what I could get out of the world if I did that thing. Well, what am I going to get out of it? What's in it for me? And I had absolutely no success whatsoever. I was always a nice guy. I was never horrible. I would never rip anyone off, and I would always try and do the right thing. But I was very transactional. I think we are when we're younger. And then as I started to kind of grow and change a bit, I started kind of just consciously putting out as much value into the world as I could, with no expectation of getting anything back whatsoever. And since that point, my life did like a whole 180, completely different direction. I used to be the same way, says Tony, been a lot happier since giving to others. It is so true, and she says there, you know, when you go and you do, you know, you've not lived until you've done something for somebody else where you know they could never ever pay you back. Trust me, whether that's buying, you know, a homeless person some food, going and volunteering at a kids' hospital, whatever. You know, it's so valuable to just do those kind of things to lift your own self-esteem, because it leads on to the other thing she says there. Love yourself, think of others, and be grateful. You know, I guarantee if you work on a paediatric cancer ward with children, reading them books, you will be bloody grateful after you've done that for a day, for your life and what you have, and you won't give a shit about having that part in that drama or that play or whatever. You're just going to be grateful for your health, something that you take for granted until you are ill. Sorry to change the subject, but learning lines, tips so important. I'll remind me that at the end, Patrick. I'll go on to that. I just did a big audition last Thursday, and I came up with a new way to learn lines that I nailed it. I didn't forget anything at all. It's good, but you need to be a little bit technical, but I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So that was Gillian's letter. Got a couple more to read you. We're going to read Phil Avery's now. Oh no, we're not. We're going to read Toby Jones. So Toby Jones was the voice of Dobby. Toby's is an interesting one. Yeah, not maybe as much life advice in this one as there was in Gillian's. Depends on how you look at it. But he says, "Dear 16-year-old Toby, I'm very glad to have this opportunity to watch you. You are often in my thoughts. In fact, I know that I think about you far more than you ever thought about me. You're far more of an influence on my daily life than you could have possibly predicted." Maybe that's the case with you. You think back to your childhood and you're like, God, that's so formed who I am today. I know it's embarrassing, but I've always assumed that we were actually quite similar to each other. Yeah, I still love the music, the books, the movies, the banter we swore we'd always love. Some things have changed though. I can't read his handwriting. I've imagined your disappointment sometimes at certain forks in the road. I can hear you logging the compromises, disgusted by my political inertia, sighing when I leave the party too early. I confess that some of these decisions have been more predictable than you used to promise they would be. So maybe he's a bit of a party animal as a kid, and as he's grown older, he's going home early from the parties. That sounds a lot like me. When I was much younger, I would be first one out in the evening, first one drunk, last one at the bar, last one in bed. Now, Saturday nights, I'd rather have a coffee and go to bed early. He says, I talk much less than you used to, less and less with each year that separates us, but I also think I've become a little less serious than you, or maybe just a little less preoccupied with proving my seriousness. When we're younger, who felt like they had something to prove when they were younger? They had a mark to make on the world. That's a proper early 20s thing for me. It's like, I've got to be significant, make my mark. You realise that at that age you know nothing. Don't worry about being right all the time. Just keep on enjoying the careless, obsessive, lustful, covert, insidious, illicit, idiotic, secret intensity of the epic life you're living. It will sort itself out later. I know they keep telling you 16 lasts a year, but it still feels way longer than that. You'll have spotted my waffle. Got no advice here. I could tell you to learn an instrument, but I know for a fact you'll nod, slope off and never get round to it. Thank you for... I can't read his bloody writing here. Thank you for what you're doing for me, he says. P.S. Make sure you see The Clash. There isn't much time. P.P.S. I actually met Bruce Springsteen. So not a lot of advice for Toby, but two good things why I picked that one out. One, don't take yourself so seriously. That's really, really important. The older you get, the more you realise the things you worry about don't mean shit. Ultimately, that's it. The things you are worrying about today, you won't care about a year down the line. I promise you that. So don't put yourself through the turmoil of worrying about them now. When you worry, I said this the other night, you are betting on yourself effectively. You're walking into the bookies and putting £100 on yourself to not accomplish the thing you're worrying about. Quit worrying and start betting on yourself to win, okay? Not betting against yourself. So thanks for that, Toby Jones. Two more letters, guys. We have got... Who else did I choose? Hugh Jackman's we've had. Gillian Anderson's we've had. Toby Jones. James Avery. This is Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Who still watches The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I think it's still... I see repeats of it now and again. It's still classic. I wonder if Will Smith, when he was in The Fresh Prince, ever, for a split second, contemplated where his life was going to go and how he would end up. How do you contemplate that? You go from Fresh Prince, yeah, popular series, to being one of the greatest actors kind of like on the planet, one of the most bankable, profitable, commercial actors on the planet, doing some huge films. Never forget that. You're only ever a couple of steps away from that, guys. Seriously, that could literally be a couple of phone calls away for you in this industry. Your life can change like that. Maybe not, but you probably didn't rule it out. Definitely not, and you shouldn't rule anything out. Seriously, if you don't fully, utterly believe you can reach the top of this industry, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So what I always tell people when they're setting goals is the goal that you want to achieve, 10x it, 10 times that goal. So if your goal was to make £100, 10x that goal, okay? So your goal is to make £1,000. I guarantee you when you 10x your goals and aim for those, you will reach higher than your initial goal. You know, if you set a £100 limit, a £100 goal, you probably make £80. You set 1,000, you might make 300. You're tripling what you initially set out to do. In this industry, regardless of what you think, you've got to aim for the top of the top. My life coach has booked a guest star role, first TV booking, now she's recurring. Excellent work, Tony. Honestly, mate, seriously, your life can change massively in an instant. The audition I had on Friday, not talking about it because I don't want to get too excited about it, but it could be. It's in one of those shows that's game-changing, utterly game-changing. I didn't know that was going to happen a week ago. You know, it can happen. It really can happen, and things can change. So keep your fingers crossed for me. So James Avery, Phil Banks out of Fresh Prince. Look at him. There he is. Bit of a slimmer Phil Banks there than he was in the Fresh Prince. Hopefully he's slimmed down a bit again. Says, hey you, what a trip to be able to talk to me at 16. There's so much I'd like to tell you, but the world you're going into should be new. I know about Kennedy's assassination and the other stuff you've experienced, civil rights and whatnot, but guess what? We have a black president. I know, you never thought it would happen, but it did. So it makes everything your mum said about you being anything you wanted to be true. I just want to tell you that the world is bigger than the Jersey Shore, and the possibilities for your life are endless. So enjoy being 16. It won't come again. Oh, and stop trying to understand Camus, who's a French philosopher, Albert Camus. I don't know how you pronounce his name, I think it's that. You'll get it later. All the best, James Avery. So that's really cool. So the reason I picked that one out, again, was really to back up what I just said, is that you can't connect the dots looking forward, as Steve Jobs says. You can only connect them looking back, and you never, ever know where you or the world is going to go. You know, when James was younger, he probably never, ever thought there would be a black president in America. Today, there is, and I think, Tony, I don't know what you think, you live in the States, but for me, Barack Obama has been one of the best presidents I've ever seen. The guy is cool, he's funny, he's got charisma, I feel confident that he's capable of the job. When James was a lad at 16, that was never possible. So never rule yourself out of anything. And like his mum said, yeah, you know, you have the potential to be anything you want to be. Totally true. Last letter I want to read tonight is Stan Lee, the legend, who, basically the guy who created Marvel. We love Obama. Granted, he's also from Chicago, so he's popular here. Excellent, Tony. Good to hear. Check out Stan's. He's got a little pow at the top of his letter here. So he wasn't that great. Says. What's that? It's just gone so quick. Was that you, Patrick? I think it's Patrick. Patrick's a big Kennedy fan, aren't you, Patrick? I'm sure you know all the history about that. I've seen on one of your profiles somewhere. So Stan Lee's letter. He says, Dear Stan, I still remember how you always wanted to be a writer. In your last year at DeWitt Clinton High School, you practiced signing your name, Stanley Martin Lieber, over and over again, making it look as bold and impressive as any of those at the bottom of the Declaration of Independence. You were certain the day would come when you'd write the great American novel and people would ask for your autograph, and you wanted to be prepared. Who practiced their autograph at school, by the way? Hands up if you did that. Back of my textbooks. I've practiced it. The hearts are going crazy. I practiced it and practiced it and practiced it, and I changed it. Everyone's going, yeah, true, all the time. Me. Amazing. Yeah, not on my own there then, definitely. It says, how could you have imagined the ironic development in later years? Today, people do occasionally request your autograph, but not for the great American novel, which you never wrote, but rather for the oh-so-oft misaligned comic books which nobody ever respected years ago. And even more ironic, the name you now sign is Stan Lee, which you adopted legally because you were embarrassed that Stanley M. Lieber was writing those lowly comics, which have since become the wellspring for respected motion pictures, TV series, video games, and all sorts of enormously popular globe-spanning entertainment. So bear this in mind, my impulsive 16-year-old self. Nothing ever stays the same. Tastes change and the cultures change too. The important thing is to stay on top of what is au courant, I think he means current, and be resilient enough to go with the flow and change with the tide. And if you're lucky enough to be one who contributes to the changing culture, never forget your roots or those who helped you make the grade. You, Stan Lee. Stan Lee. So the thing there, I mean, how amazing. The fact is he changed his name because he was embarrassed by the things he was doing. He didn't want to sign his real name under the things he was doing that ultimately were the thing that made him one of the greatest successes on earth right now. But also it's about changing, going with the flow, changing with the tide. So this is something that a lot of business mentors of mine have told me in the past, and I've said this quite a few times, but ultimately, guys, you can, when the tides change, and things are changing in the acting industry right now, okay, so things that never used to be important are now becoming more important, and those things are things like social media followings. 10 years ago, no one had one, no one cared. Today, they're making an impact. If you've got 100,000 followers and on Twitter, and you're being seen for a part, and the person opposite you is exactly the same, could do the job, but is a nobody, doesn't have any social media following, it's going to make a bit of a difference, and that's just life, unfortunately. So things like that change. The way casting is changing. You now have to be pretty handy with technology, doing self-tapes. If you can't produce a self-tape within 30 minutes of being requested by your agent, you're going to struggle. Okay, the world of voiceover that I work in has changed quite a lot. A lot of people are setting up home studios now, whereas 5 years ago I used to work exclusively out of inner city studios, the big pro studios. There's an awful lot that kind of changes, and ultimately you can do one of two things. You can sit there and complain about it and say how unfair it is, and ultimately, to be blunt, nobody gives a shit about your feelings. Seriously, it's harsh, isn't it? But who do we think about more than anyone else? Ourselves. We don't really care whether someone thinks that it's unjust that they don't know how to self-tape and they've got to do it within the day or something like that. Learn. Okay. The second thing is, you adapt or die ultimately. So it's all about categories of constant improvement, looking at where your strengths lie and going, okay, well, where can I improve effectively in the skills that I might need in my niche. Okay, there's no point in me learning something that's not important if I don't want to learn it. Okay, but things like self-taping, social media, like I say, tech setup, home studio stuff. I mean, I've got loads of home studio kit here now that I use daily to record voiceover demos and stuff. Never used to have to do that. Used to just pop on a train, go to the studio and record a demo there. Now my agent might send me 2 a day. Hey, could you record this quickly? And I've got to have it out within 30 minutes. I either adapt, buy this kit, learn how to use it, or I stop getting work. So ultimately what Stan says there is you've got to change with the tide, and just roll with it. Don't complain. Stay on top of what's current and work with it. So I think there's some pretty good lessons there in those 5 letters. We're going to look at 5 different letters next week. There's so many in here, guys. I'd really recommend people getting this book if you want something easy to read and something that's going to inspire you. If you're watching on the replay, you can click the link underneath this video and go straight through to amazon.co.uk to get it. If you're in the States, Tony, my man, you have to go to amazon.com to get it. But yeah, the link for those watching on the replay in the UK will be under there. Can you get it on an audiobook? I don't know, Patrick. Hopefully you can. Fingers crossed you can. Rachel's here. She says woohoo. All right. Didn't see you jump on the scope there. So yeah, it's a good book. Really good book. You should definitely check it out. And then next week, like I said, we're going to look at 5 different letters. So we're just going to do this for 2 weeks, guys. I thought it'd probably get a bit dull doing it for 4 weeks. We'll do this for 2, and then for the next book in 2 weeks is going to be Ryan Holiday's new book called Ego is the Enemy. Great book on effectively getting out of your own way. Too many people get in their own way in life, and their ego gets in the way. It doesn't mean the ego in terms of Freudian ego. It's not that. It's literally getting out of the way of yourself. Ultimately, not taking life too seriously. which is good. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Anyway, I'm going to be back on Monday with Motivation and Mind Hacks. Love this topic. We'll have to tune in for that book, says Tony. Awesome, Tony. But yeah, ultimately, guys, the reason that we're doing this Dear Me, letter to my 16-year-old self, is I want everybody to write a letter to their 16-year-old self. Like I say, I'm then going to collate all those and then publish it as an ebook for free that we're going to give away to actors who might be able to read it and take some solace from it. You know, take your advice, you know, use it and get further in their careers faster. I'll give it a go then, says Fanny. Excellent. Well, I'm going to create a page on the website, Fanny. You can write it in preparation, but I'm going to create a page on actsonthis.tv that will go live after the book club next week. People will be able to submit from next Wednesday night. I'll keep it open for a couple of weeks. People can get the letters in, and then, you know, I'll collate them all, whether there's 2 or 20 or 200. I'll collate them all, put in a free ebook, and then we can distribute that, and hopefully people can you know, get a lot of value from that, which is really cool. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. If you're watching on the replay, very much appreciate you as well. Please join us live next time. Were you going to give a quick tip regarding lines? Oh, okay, yeah, I was, Mary. So what I did is, so I had an audition on Friday. There was only 2 scenes. They were relatively long. They were about 4 pages each. And what I found in the past, this is my tip, okay? What I found in the past is there's a very big difference, guys, to learning lines in your head and visually on a page. Because I don't know if you're like me, but what I end up doing, if I just learn them visually on a page, I'm trying to see if I can, I've not got the scripts here, but I will highlight them. So you end up, if I just highlight a bit of blank paper here, you kind of, you know, I don't know if you see that, you'll end up with like a line up here, a line here, a line down here, and you end up learning them almost visually. So in your head, I kind of go, okay, I kind of know where I am on the script. So I know that cue comes towards the bottom of the page and it's a short line. And that's all good, because that's one way of learning. But I find that sometimes when I get into an audition, if I've not actually had the lines said to me, I can get thrown. It's different me knowing where they are on the page, but when I don't have the page in front of me and someone, you know, I'm in a high pressure situation and the casting director's giving me these lines, and I've not heard them before, particularly delivered in a way that they deliver them, which might be different to how I've heard them in my head, it can throw me off a little bit. So sometimes what I'll do, Patrick, is I'll go in and I'll be very honest and go, listen guys, just before we put any of this on tape, before we do a take, would you just run through the lines with me a little bit? I just want to hear them. I've not had a chance to get someone to work with to actually hear them back. And they'll always, I promise you, they'll always say yeah. They'll say that's absolutely fine. And you just run the lines before they turn the camera on, and at least you've heard them for the first time. This audition I went to on Friday was really important to me, and I thought I don't want to be in that situation where I've only heard them once, because I got the script the night before. I had no chance to work with someone on it. So what I did is I opened up some software I've got on my computer. And I mean, I've got a microphone and stuff here, like I showed you before. You could do this on your phone, though. This is, you know, you can get audio editing software on your phone as well. I'm sure there's apps out there. And what I did is I recorded all the other lines, not my own. But I know a lot of people do that, but they just leave gaps of silence in between their lines. Now, I use Line Learner apps, says Mary, so that might be one to check out. But what I did, rather than just leaving silence where my lines would fall, I put in beeps. So if you've ever used ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement, where if you've ever done a TV job and they want to go in and redub your lines, what will happen is that you'll see a line going across the screen and they'll give you 3 beeps, and on the 3rd beep is exactly where you start talking. So I'm used to hearing those beeps. So what I did is I recorded all the other people's lines, and then when my lines came in, I didn't leave just silence. I put in a quick beep, so that I could get the timing on the line right. So I knew that if I hadn't spoken by the time that beep had happened, I'd probably been late on my cue, and I wanted to get it as natural as possible. So, you know, you do sometimes overlap talk, you know, when you're in conversation with someone, you're not waiting for the line, leave a beat and then say it. So I put the beeps in exactly where I should talk, and then I recorded it and put it on my iPhone, and I listened to it on repeat on the way to the audition, and people in the street must have thought I was mental. But ultimately, I'd probably heard those lines and those cues said to me, honestly, probably 70 times by the time I got into the audition. And thus, I even asked to run the lines. I went in, the casting director went, right, should we go for one? I was like, yeah, let's do one. it was like I'd practiced that scene those 70 times. It was flawless, right on my cues. I knew exactly what was coming. I could kind of play the scene as opposed to going, oh, is it my line, is it my line? Because, you know, I'd heard those beeps in my head where I knew I was to come in. And it was just a little tiny little tweak, basically, with, you know, not just leaving silence, that I think really helped. So ultimately, the story there is hear the lines. If you can record them, you're going to be in a much better situation than you would be if you just learn them on the sheet, because you're only learning them visually. And you might hear them in your head, but you don't. It's different when you hear them come out of someone else's mouth. It will throw you if you haven't heard it before, I promise you. Mary says thanks. Paris says thanks. No, pleasure. I'm going to write an article on it. Amazing, thank you, says Lucinda. Pleasure, Lucy. I'm going to write an article on the site and do a screencast of how you can do this with some free software on your Mac or your PC. But Hipster says Line Learner, $2.99, worth every penny. You record all, then turn off your lines. Oh, that's a really good idea as well then, yeah. So check out Line Learner then. Could you put the details of the new page for the letters on the Facebook page? I will do, Christos. It won't go live until next Wednesday, mate, so no rush on that, that's fine. Yeah, so check out, that's great, Hipster. So yeah, the Line Learner app might be a shortcut to do that. I did it manually because I'm used to recording voiceover here. But I would definitely suggest, if you do record it manually, put that beep in. All sound recording software can generate tones within it. It's when you you beep out swearing and stuff like that. It's a default thing that all sound recording software generally has. And I just put in a beep when my line came in, just so that I knew that's exactly where it was. And it was flawless. Did 2 takes, not a problem. Felt like I'd done it 100 times before. It does all you send, and you can send to others. So what did you mean by that, Hib? Says, and you can send what, the files, or you can send the scripts and stuff. It sounds cool, that though. Line Learner, I will definitely check that out. There was also an app called Rehearsal as well, by a guy called David Lawrence. He created that. He's a great actor, actually. He was in what was he in? It's in, like, is it Heroes? What was it called? I think it was Heroes, American series. He played a crazy guy, a puppeteer, the Puppet Master, I think he was called. But yeah, he was great, and he created an app called Rehearsal 2, which I think is a similar thing. Hope you get the job, Ross. So do I, Lucy. Fingers crossed. Get that job. I'll let you know, though. I'll let everybody know. It will be great to get. But you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? You do your audition. You've got to. I'm constantly telling people you've got to forget it. Only focus on what you can control. So now I've got to practice what I preach, and just focus on what I can control. And it's out of my hands now. So I can just leave it in the lap of the gods, the casting gods. Hopefully they will shine down on me favourably. So yeah, try that out, guys. But yeah, learning lines. The other alternative to that would be get someone to rehearse with you. But if you can't, you've got to record them yourself and hear them back. It's so different to just learning them off the page. You'll do so much better when you've learnt them off the page and you've learnt them through hearing them. It's a very, very different experience. We learn much more audibly. Writing stuff down is great for learning your lines. If you write your lines down, guys, scientifically it's been proven it's the equivalent of saying them 7 times. So if you transcribe your lines out, it's like you've ran that scene 7 times verbally. So that's another way. But ultimately, you'll find your own way. You can use bits of all of these techniques. But the more time you spend on it, the more ingrained they're going to get. I've written whole scripts out, says Fanny. It works though. It really does work. Definitely we can learn by rote like that. Absolutely, it really does work. Yes, I write a scene out. Works well, says Mary. It does, says Fanny. Yeah, it's like, as I say, on a science level, when they've studied this, it's as effective as reading it 7 times. I do that, says Lucy. Yeah, it's good, awesome. But yeah, if you've got any line learning tips and that app as well, Hipster, post it in the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, come and join. It's facebook.com/groups/ActOnThisTV. It'd be fantastic to see people in there. We've got a super supportive group. We've got 0 tolerance on negativity, moaning, whinging, bullshit. It's all about actors getting shit done, and keeping motivated and optimistic, and being grateful for where they're at. I'll do a video review, says Hipster. Amazing, yeah. Anything like that would be sweet. Get yourself, do a bit of a Facebook Live video post or something like that in the group. The more interactive we get in the group, the better. There's over 2,200 actors in there at the moment, I think. Hopkins reads a play at least 200 times apparently before he starts. When I was at drama school, I never remember sitting down to learn lines because we rehearsed it for 6 weeks, and by the end of that rehearsal process you just found you knew your lines anyway. So definitely repetition just works if you've got the time. I mean, in TV you never have that luxury, unfortunately. Like I say, I got the script sent to me about 6 o'clock and I was travelled out of London the next day to do my audition at 3, but I spent half the day travelling, so I had time on the train, but you know, not a lot of time to do it. But I must have, like I say, got it in my headphones, must have got through it 70 times beforehand, so it definitely worked. Awesome. Right, okay, I'll let you guys go. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, come and join the Facebook group if you're not a member. Don't forget, premium membership on actsonthis.tv will be going up after Sunday. It's still not going up massively, it's doubling in price effectively. It's still cheap though, it's going to work out at 30 quid a quarter or 100 quid for the year. But at the moment you can lock in just £49 for the year, so you can get it for half price if you sign up for premium membership before Sunday. Go to actsonthis.tv/sign up and select the premium membership, and you will lock that price in for life. You will never pay more than that again, regardless of how many times the price goes up, as long as you keep your subscription active. And that's kind of out of my control. You have to keep your bank details or credit card details up to date with PayPal, so PayPal can charge you automatically each year or each month, whichever subscription you get. But you will never pay more than that if you keep that active. People who join after Sunday will only have the option to go quarterly for 30 quid or yearly for 100 quid. So go and lock in that now, actsonthis.tv/sign up. Got loads of premium content coming up over the next few months, and there's already 300 hours worth of it on there from the biggest casting directors, agents in the country. Thanks Ross, always massively grateful for your help and services. Pleasure Christoph, great to have you in the community, mate. Same goes to everybody else, appreciate you all. Night all, it says thank you. Night all, wake up early and kick butt. Definitely, I will be in the gym at 6:45, doing a bit of back in the morning. Not the most interesting body part, but yeah, get yourself up there, go out there, do something great, get shit done. Thanks Mary, thanks everybody. Catch up with you guys very, very soon. Bye for now.